This meeting of the Villa Rica Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals is called to order at 6:01. First order of business is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any comments or additions?
I have none.
Hear a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor? Old business, we have no old business. The minutes from the last meeting are not available yet, so we'll bypass that. New business, a conditional use variance 0217. Vicki, would you introduce that variance to us?
Actually, first, let me give you my apologies. I know you just adopted the agenda, but this item is not a conditional use variance, so.
Oh, all right. We'll make that amendment.
You want me to
Go ahead.
Okay.
Vicky, I don't know if is your mic on?
The green light is on. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Let me
I
just
can hear
close
you,
this.
but it doesn't sound like you're being amplified. Yeah.
This is a request from Tom Tyson with Signal Signs. He's representing the Holiday Inn Express that's located at 100 Cooley Way in Villa Rica. I'm just going to give you the site plan has changed a couple of times since you originally received your packet. So based on the information that you received in your packet, the request specifically spoke to adding, with the addition of what appeared to be another freestanding sign on the site. There is a maximum of aggregate sign display area that is allowed on a parcel, and that maximum display area is 180 square feet for the entire parcel. Since then, what you have before you now is a revised site plan. So, Rhonda, did you get a revised site plan? So I'll just really, very quickly, just kind of talk about what the comparisons of the site plan happen to be. The site plan that you received in your original packet, it includes one freestanding sign and 3 wall signs. There is, in your original packet, there's a wall sign on the front elevation. 3 signs total. A freestanding sign and 2 wall signs. There's a wall sign on the front elevation, which is facing Cooley Way. And the second one was actually what was on the south side along Hickory Level Road. And they're almost sitting adjacent to each other. So what you have in this updated site plan that was provided to you just now, there's a change in the location of the wall sign. That wall sign going to what is the north facing elevation. And in the original site plan, there were additional ground signs that were identified. So what has been updated in this new site plan, there's a removal of what's shown as existing ground signs. So the original request to add, that speaks to the 180 square feet, for each parcel. If you would like to add that second additional sign, that information as presented to you in the original staff report has changed, if you will. So, sorry for the confusion. It was a little bit confusing when we first started.
So with
Have a
the
discussion with
amendment, have they complied with the 180 square feet?
So, I'm literally just seeing this as we walked in. One of the recommendations that I certainly made was that the applicant probably seek to defer, and here's why. The north-facing sign requires a variance itself. Now, the information that was presented to you, I guess it appeared as if there were several different versions of a site plan that was sent over to staff, and what was sent to you was the one which they said they didn't want to show that particular wall on the south-facing side, but because that request isn't actually documented as part of the write-up, was one of the things that I certainly suggested they may want to seek to do a deferral altogether. They have just removed the ground signs, so that's something in terms of all their total square footage that had to be calculated. I can take that off, but I haven't gone back to totally recalculate. They're still at that 100, they're still exceeding, let me say, that 180 square foot maximum sign display area. But again, it still doesn't address the fact that there is the sign that they would like to be facing I-20 that isn't included. It's in the second site plan that you've received. So again, my recommendation was just simply to do a deferral or continuance, the language that the ordinance uses, to make sure that that gets documented and it gets addressed.
And then you prepare, so now we'll look at two variances, one for the side.
That is correct.
Okay.
So,
Ms. Coleman, the signs, the smaller ground signs that you were referring to, what were the nature of those signs? Were they like directional signs or?
they said it was an error.
Okay,
Showing them on the plans, when I looked at them, I saw them as potentially being freestanding signs that needed to, so when I further inquired, they said, we didn't mean to show those at all.
Okay. Okay.
So they've been removed from.
Because I was
the
just, I
original-
guess it's not really relevant then, but I guess I just couldn't find them on, I just couldn't tell where they were, and I was just trying to figure out, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay.
There was one in the, what would be the southeast corner of the parcel,
Okay,
in the site plan that you originally received. But in this updated site plan, they have been removed. And there's one which would be in the, sorry, now I can't read that well. Yeah. In that southeast, corner.
okay. Is that mark number 3, is that what that, the circle, the number in there?
In a package.
You didn't get it in the original,
Just two
that was,
marks.
See, was that?
You probably didn't get because they kept sending me the new ones.
Oh, I
So
see,
originally
okay.
they were here,
I see,
and that's when she had asked about them.
I see, okay, okay,
They were at the bottom,
gotcha, okay.
but they were irrelevant.
Right, yeah, I guess it doesn't make a difference,
I
but.
don't-
I guess mine is the same because I picked mine up from Miss Blackman prior to. So mine is the same as what's in there, I think, the new one. I don't have the old one because I didn't bring my old packet with me.
Oh, okay,
I borrowed Miss Blackman's. So
Okay.
that's probably why I have the updated one, so I can't see exactly what they say. Not that I'm just probably causing more confusion than it's worth, and I apologize.
so what I am, I certainly would like to give the applicants an opportunity to come up and speak. I think, like I said, it was just some confusion with the site plans that came over, and certainly that I had a chance to see and that were forwarded over what I had assumed that you had all received. but, just so that it's properly documented in terms of what they're actually requesting and what's reflected on the site plan and the staff analysis, I certainly think it's important to make sure that the information is accurately documented.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Does the applicant want to say anything?
Good evening. My name is Tom Tyson. I'm with Signal Sign Company, and we wanted to apologize for the confusion. We were not aware that when it was being printed out that it was showing these additional ground signs. So did want to apologize for that mishap. But as far as the monument sign, the size of it is 75 square feet. And the visibility is very low because of how you got the dealership located directly in front of it. And they've got a lot of distraction going on with their flag poles and the banners and everything they've got going on there. So realistically, you've got a limited viewing site. And with it being the overall height that's shown on the drawing for the monument sign is less than 16 and a half feet. But the actual sign area itself is only 6 feet tall. So to get people actually into the hotel, that's why we were asking for the height that we requested. And there won't be any sign on Hickory Level Road. It would only be this one sign when you get into the Cooley Way. And we just think that that's the appropriate size for people to safely come and go into the hotel. And then as far as the wall sign, the square footage is a little bit misleading because if you box it in, you do come up with 137 square feet, but if you take it individually, it does drop the square footage dramatically because of all the airspace around the logo, because the logo itself is roughly only 25 square feet, and then the Holiday Inn letters, they're roughly 2 feet tall by 12 feet wide, which is only 24 square feet. So when you break it down by the copy and the logo, the size does diminish dramatically. And as you can see, this is the only identification they'll have from Highway 61 looking that far over. So that's why we were asking for the sign on the north elevation to actually help people find the hotel coming off I-20, is why we were requesting that one on that elevation. So that's pretty much
Okay.
the reason why we were asking for those.
A continuance that Vicki Coleman recommended, is that agreeable with you until you can file a new application for variance?
Well, is there a way possible to, we would like to open the hotel with the sign facing 61 and the monument sign. Would that be possible, and ask for a continuation on the one facing I-20?
it would be possible to permit the freestanding sign up front and then the one on the building facing the front elevation. We just go back and look to do ensure the calculations on the aggregate sign area to ensure that it complies. But as long as it complies, it can move forward on that end. It's really going to be that north-facing elevation. What I will certainly do is double check, because what's documented in terms of the total square footage, they've documented on their signs, is what, in terms of the calculations, and the calculations that I came with were pretty much the same. So,
Well, if the monument sign and the one fascia sign on the hotel are under 180 square feet, we don't have an application for variance really, because it's within, it meets the standards.
right.
We would not rule on that.
No, you wouldn't. You're looking at, right, it's everything in its totality. What I was speaking to was specifically what the total display area across all of the signs adding up would be, just to ensure that they don't surpass that. So if they don't surpass that and they meet the requisite requirements for the freestanding and the wall sign, then they're fine, certainly with the monument out front and what would be on that front elevation.
Well, the only issue, the height of the freestanding sign wasn't brought up as an issue in a variance. It was just the total aggregate was
Right.
exceeded. So-
Right, okay.
So if,
Their application was a little bit confusing to me, to be honest with you, because I couldn't tell what they're exactly asking. Beyond this, the aggregate sign, I don't even know why the height was an issue for their monument sign.
They have kind of, I think, two things going on, and I'll certainly say there's a part of the ordinance that can be cleaned up a little bit better. But with the change in the elevations going on, in terms of, depending on where their location is, you can measure it kind of based on where the road is. So I'll certainly go back and look at that. But there are certain parts or certain portions of that sign ordinance that I would certainly say need to be maybe cleaned up a little bit better too. But
I always
that-
thought
that's
height
not-
of
that's
a
not
sign
what's
was
before
measured
you.
from the ground up. If it happens to be on a mound, it's, to make it taller, it's still from the ground level up. No?
well, with the way the language is written, like I said, and I didn't write it in there as part of the request, but whatever the crown of the road is, if you happen to be a site that's sitting below the road, then what it does, it will certainly take into consideration what the crown of that road happens to be, not necessarily how it's mounted. You can't mound it anyway, but you're measuring from the crown of the road based on visibility if it's a site that happens to sit below. So, but I did not write that particular portion up in the ordinance.
Okay, so,
It sounds like we don't have anything to
Right.
rule on. Right now, you've got to look at the height of the sign to see if it's an issue, from the crown of the road or whatever. And so we don't have information to rule on there. The two signs that they want to put up don't exceed 180 square feet, so that's within the ordinance. We don't need to rule on that.
Which is why what I sent before you, I said, based upon what was originally submitted to you on Friday and what was documented, that said you may have a second sign, freestanding sign, provided that if you are greater than X number of acres but less than, you have a maximum aggregate area. That's what was sent to you. And
Right.
what they did after the fact was pull out that additional sign. What he pointed out to you was what the total aggregate sign area. And he did not necessarily prepare the signs, but if I get you to turn to what is the front elevation, he didn't prepare it, but you'll see a little notation in here that says approval box, please initial. If you look just above that, it will spell out what the square footage of that sign area is. So I did my calculation, and I happen to see that the calculations were the same. So when you look at potentially two, wall signs at 137.67, that's not even counting what the freestanding sign would have been, you are already exceeding it. So you kind of get a better sense of where.
But I was looking at the revised sign, and it looks like they took out all of the text Holiday Inn Express and just have the Holiday Inn symbol to put on the fascia of the hotel. That's what it appears to me. 'Cause all that stuff is faded out. The words are faded out.
Yeah, and it just may have been that it's copied, but again, what is defined as the area, what I calculated and what was documented in the sign area, we came up with similar square footages. So that's the reason why, I made the point to point out where it's documented in the ordinance of, and that's all that was sent before you, was simply the total aggregate square footage. Now, the issue of the sign, the wall sign being on the north side, for those who got your packet on Friday, that sign isn't documented on the north side, it's documented on the south side. And that's why I was saying, we need to update this so that we make sure that it accurately reflects what it is you are intending to do. And so that's what's really going to come before you if in fact all these other minor changes are made.
Okay.
Okay.
I have, I guess, excuse my ignorance, but one, I heard Mr. Is it Tony? Tom say that he was actually looking for someone to see the building, but, I mean, how does that rate as far as most people that go to hotels, and I travel there a bunch, most of the people already make reservations prior to getting there. So would the streets 20 or coming east or west have something there to say Holiday Inn? Because when I'm coming off 20, I see certain things, Bonanza, whatever, there, so and so.
So the visibility that he wants, if you are coming, if you would be traveling on 61 south,
Okay.
if there's a sign on his north-facing elevation, he's hoping that he's going to get that visibility if you're traveling south on 61, as opposed to what would be the street-facing signs, which would be Cooley. He already knows that, but the Hickory level, he doesn't. I'm assuming the applicant doesn't think that he's going to get the same visibility. Did I capture what you were saying?
There's too much distraction with that dealership. I mean, if you go by there's flags, there's like a dozen banners on the flagpoles. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on there. And that's why we were saying that realistically, to conduct their business, they need to have the one coming off I-20 on the north elevation, and then there at that intersection at Hickory level, where people can actually see the hotel from that direction. Because a ground sign is really, it's gonna be limited to only getting people actually into the parking lot.
Right.
You won't be able to see that ground sign off I-20.
And if you move it to the north elevation on that wall sign, would you be able to capture both 61 and I-20? Is that the goal there?
It's mainly gonna be coming off I-20 going south on 61.
Because the elevation is higher, so it can be viewable from the interstate. It's not blocked by the Home Depot and the trees and such.
We've got it moved up as far as it can go on that elevation, we've got it up the top.
Right, okay. But right now, we're just, there's nothing really for us to consider, because,
Correct.
okay,
With that change in what was originally sent out on Friday, like I said, it wasn't documented in that information. And so changing it from the site plan that I assume you guys received on Friday to what you have today, the signs are on two different sides of the building.
Right.
One sign that's the sign that would have gone out on Friday is allowable in a sense. It would be on the street facing side but changing the particular location to the north-facing side was not what was originally sent to you.
So assuming that the freestanding sign meets all the requirements for a freestanding sign, and that the sign on the north face facing Cooley meets all the requirements for a wall sign, then they're okay as of now, and they'll just need to come back later for the north facing sign that they're proposing that's kind of towards I-20 and Home Depot.
That is correct.
Okay.
We have nothing to rule on.
Do we need to formally move that they have, or do they need to formally ask? I guess they already
I
have
think
asked
they-
for a continuance on
Vicky
that.
asked for a continuance, so I think,
That's what I would say, staff recommendation will be the continuance. And certainly.
while you
guys can-
recalculate and a variance for the north-facing sign is prepared, while you recalculate the sign square footage to make sure that whatever they've done now is still, is okay, and then they submit a variance for just the one sign.
Right, and
Right.
they can amend they'll be able to amend the application, and we can make sure all of that is
Yeah,
documented.
that can be handled administratively. You don't need the board for that.
One of the parts on the application that I didn't see in this is a statement of why the variance is necessary, and a statement as to how the application satisfies the requirements of the ordinance.
Yeah.
And there are several parts of the ordinance that we have to make sure the application meets those guidelines. And that's not in the application that I have in my hand.
Right, so we would say that in your future submission, to make sure that you have everything for the packet there. I see an email where it makes reference to, for the letter regarding the variance, but I don't actually see the letter in the packet, so. That kind of spells out the factors there and so forth, so.
I hear a motion for a continuance.
I move that we allow the applicant to come back and revisit us with a continuance for the matter at the next scheduled date.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. We, get a calendar out,
Who was scheduled for?
see when we're scheduled for the next one.
The third Tuesday,
Third Tuesday?
June.
So you can get with staff
That would be
tomorrow.
June 20th?
So that's fine.
June 20th.
June 20th.
Mr. Tyson beforehand, so I have it all in plenty of time.
Okay. You're welcome.
Are there any other comments?
Oh, I have no other comments.
Motion
no.
to adjourn?
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
gonna give you a quick update.
Oh,
based
yes,
on
thank you, thank
Alright.
you.
Our original conversation. Last month, you had an application before you for a variance as it relates to the racetrack. This is just to update you that there was a request from the applicant of an appeal of decision that will be going before the city council. I'm scheduling that for this upcoming city council meeting. So, so that you're aware.
I should appear to talk about the board's decision.
I would certainly encourage,
Okay,
encourage you guys to.
that'd be fine, no problem.
So there aren't any other questions?
I guess, Ms. Whiteman, can we get the minutes from, will you be able to get the minutes to that? So we can review them prior to that meeting, so we can refresh our memory of why we denied them?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We're adjourned.